Domestic Dog, or Domestic Dog Simulator, is an indie game for the PC developed by the one-man studio Surreal Distractions. Originally released via Desera and Humble Bundle back in October 6, 2014, Domestic Dog is currently in the process of being greenlit through Steam. First of all, I must admit to the fact that I don't really play many indie titles. PC gaming is still relatively new to me, and my only prior experience with the indies were the more heavily supported and marketed titles like Super Meat Boy, that or the barren wasteland of low-quality slosh that is Xbox Live indie games. That aside, Domestic Dog is a simplistic game where you control a pixelated dog through a small, pixelated town. I respect what the developer was going for in terms of the Atari-esque thematic, but it seems to be such a commonly used crutch for small developers that I've become numb to it. Admittedly, given the gameplay, I can't imagine many other art styles would work successfully for Domestic Dog. On the contrary, some of the dog sprites manage to be incredibly unique, even if they look more Lovecraftian than Dog's best friend. The goal in Domestic Dog seems to be to survive as long as possible, as the game features permanent death and very few things carry over to new dogs. There is an ATM where you can store dog coins that you earn via leveling up or performing a small number of other tasks and games. Outside of money though, getting ran over by a vehicle or dying of starvation immediately sends you back to the beginning where your dog hatches out of an egg. I do see the purpose of permanent death in currently popular genres like roguelikes and multiplayer survival games, but for the hyper-stylized simulation of a dog, I'm somewhat perplexed. Rather, it mirrors some dated online Flash or Newgrounds games I played back in high school. Since there are a limited number of things to do in this game, the ability to save and revisit things at a later time might affect the pacing and longevity. I'd certainly have all the available Steam achievements by now if that were the case. However, since you can't save, I found myself performing small runs for specific objectives. Occasionally, to save up money, I'd deposit the starting $100 given to you, then immediately commit suicide via oncoming traffic. Other lives would have me searching for butterflies to piss on, or attempting to navigate the Zelda-inspired Woofwoods area of the game. This lack of saving and items transferring over even impairs the audio quality of the game, as additional song tracks are some of the rare items in the game. It doesn't help that what seems to be a glitch causes music to randomly stop, making the game seem even more empty. Money can be used to purchase items, the most important of which being dog food, the least important being almost everything else in the game. Dog food is of course used to keep your dog fed, which is one of the 6 meters you must attempt to keep full while playing. Really though, food, water, and sleep are the only ones worth paying attention to, as they can directly end your game. Likewise, doing something to aid one meter often adversely affects another, making it seem rather pointless at times. To compound onto this, leveling up your dog seems to have no effect on how these meters degrade, meaning that leveling is only around to unlock new stores, of which I counted 2. Within the stores, there are other items you can buy, mostly used to customize your house, or give your dog a new paint job, or collar. I can't tell if it's intentional or accidental, but Domestic Dog is best played in extremely short bursts of 10 to possibly 15 minutes. When a dog is alive for too long, the progression becomes so slow that things are boring. Early game is always more interesting because you are leveling up more quickly and seeing new things. Unfortunately, since the game is effectively identical outside of your dog's look and bark each time, the spark can only last so long. This ideal perhaps mirrors the fact that Domestic Dog is essentially an early access game. It's not plastered on the trailer or even specifically mentioned by the developer, but by all accounts it's true given the promise of new updates and features. Unfortunately, I don't see any amount of small new features or things to piss on being enough to save Domestic Dog from what it is, a rather boring distraction. While the price point is certainly low at $2 and the developer has been generously giving away many copies for free, this is one small game out of thousands. Domestic Dog is not particularly engaging, thought-provoking, or fun. Its entire identity is dangerously close to much of today's "lol so random" XD humor, and much of the intended fun seems to be sparked from the gut reaction of seeing a dog's feces destroy a full-sized automobile. I'm sure there's a market for Domestic Dog, as I surely would have enjoyed it had it been available 10 years ago on Miniclip, but in 2015, I'm afraid I'm already being spread too thin with what games are available. Surreal Distractions has produced a working and only somewhat buggy indie game with an acceptable price point, but not much depth.